Good afternoon. My name is Ja. I am going to be discussing with you all today about ADD, ADHD, um, and how we can use essential oils to help those who may be experiencing these developmental disorders. Um, and this screen share that you all are looking at is going to be the worksheet that we're working off of. But before we get there, I just wanted to actually show you and discuss with you um, the actual meanings or the descriptions behind the developmental disorders. Um, so first off, we're going to talk about autism spectrum disorder, which is a developmental disorder affecting the communication and behavior center in the body and the brain. ADD and ADHD are defined as chronic conditions, including attention deficit, hyperactivity, and impulsiveness. So some of you might be listening and might have even put yourself in one of those categories. I think these days we have functioned more as a labeled society because ADD and ADHD may not have existed on such a wide scale. As has autism spectrum disorder. But today we see a large range of people falling somewhere within the spectrum disorder. And based on these descriptions, you might even have placed yourself in one of those. Basically, it's just some sort of attention deficit or developmental disorder. The connections between your brain and what's going on in your body and the communication aspect of them both together. Okay, so I want to go ahead and minimize this page. We'll come back to that page, but let's go ahead and take a look at the handout. I'm going to go through each specific um, category or senses and just describe the different character traits or how these different senses affect somebody who is both under responsive to the specific sense or over responsive. And this is basically how they categorize where on the spectrum somebody would fall. Um, let's first talk about this sense of vision, a visual sense. So this is our sense of light and color, how we perceive light and color. Somebody who is under responsive, and I apologize about the background noise. Hopefully I'm talking loud enough to drown it out. Somebody who is under responsive or is functioning at an under responsive level, and you'll see that right here, shows low acuity and low light, even in clear vision. They prefer bright spaces and high contrast. Okay. So somebody in this particular category of having an unresponsive body system will find that it's very difficult to see. Okay. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, you'll have somebody who is over responsive, who has who's very sensitive to light. Um, they tire quickly on white paper. They like hats or even sunglasses to basically protect their over responsive system of vision. Okay. So let's go ahead and jump down to auditory. Our auditory system is the system that processes sound, how we hear things, and how this particular sound comes into our ear and reaches our brain. What is that sound being registered as? So somebody who is under responsive, sounds they appear to ignore sounds or be hard of hearing. It's almost like they're ignoring you. They're not really energized by music or cheering. They have a difficulty distinguishing a single sound amongst many. So somebody who falls in the under-responsive category for the auditory system actually is not very sensitive to sound, different pitches and different volumes. They may not hear you call their name. They may not turn around right away if they hear like a bell ringing. I have a student in my class who actually does not ever hear the bell ring. So that student, we would say, is functioning at an under-responsive level when it comes to his auditory sense. Okay, and somebody who is over-responsive, they tend to cover their ears. They're easily excited by music, cheering, or other specific sounds, but they're scared by sirens and storms. Okay, so somebody in this category has an acute sensitivity to sound. They can point out different sounds, and they're easily triggered by hearing these different sounds. Let's jump down to our taste and scent sense. Um, this is basically the sense that is related to our sense of flavor and our sense of smell, because you do know that our sense of smell and taste are actually connected. Um, if you smell something that's really strong, sometimes it might even double over into a taste in your mouth. Um, and a taste actually sends the sensors up in your nose to actually smell that. So it works in a reverse sort of pattern. So somebody who's functioning at an under-responsive level, they actually seek out spicy foods. So their taste and scent sense is not triggering them to say, hey, brain, this is a spicy food. This is a strong scent. So they may even neglect personal hygiene because this might not be something that triggers their brain to say, hey, something is off, something's not right, something smells a certain sort of way. So they may actually neglect personal hygiene. Someone who is on an over-responsive or who functions at an over-responsive level has different aversions to food. Their sense of taste and smell is extremely, extremely strong, and um, it triggers their system in a very overly exhausted way. So they are easily nauseated. They tend to have like a bland diet. Um, they prefer bland foods. They're very sensitive to different changes in taste. Okay. So somebody who, let's jump down to our tactile system, our tactile sense, which is processing touch. Okay, feeling and touch, the sense of touch on the skin or in the mouth, the way something feels in the mouth. So you may be familiar with somebody who has a very sensitive palate. A lot of babies actually start out this way. They don't really like, they may have a very high sensitivity to mushy things, things that are prickly, things that are sticky, things that are creamy. And as adults, some people actually are functioning at either over responsive or under responsive level when it comes to that particular sense, because I know tons of adults who are still very sensitive when it comes to some sort of um, touch or touch within the mouth. Okay, so somebody who is functioning at an under responsive level um, does not notice injuries, the scratches or pinches. They actually inflict pain on themselves. They prefer textured clothing, so you might see them folding up a piece of clothing, or they have like a little pinching object or rubbing object. They enjoy messy play, so they hurt themselves and they can actually hurt others because they don't actually have that trigger to let them know, hey, this is painful to myself, thus it might be painful to someone else. Okay. Someone who is functioning at an over responsive level in the tactile system might be very defensive of different textures. They might not like the change of different textures, furs, silks, cotton. Some of those things might make them feel um, uh, uncomfortable. They prefer soft, smooth clothing. Um, they're irritated by seams. So if you look in the back of like your shirt, the seam that connects your collar to your shirt, that might be irritating to them. The seams on socks might be irritating to them. They avoid physical contact because of the sensitivity to touch and to the way things feel on their skin. Okay, so you will actually find this person probably um, avoiding play with others. They probably are going to be found sitting somewhere reading a book. Their sense, um, excuse me, their sense of recognizing when maybe like a tag is irritating them might be overly irritating to a person that is functioning at an over responsive level. Okay, so let's jump down to motor skill and muscle tone. Okay, it's how your muscles and joints in the body respond to stimuli. Okay, so this is a control of movement and the state of your muscles at rest. Somebody who is functioning at an under responsive level, it says experiences dystonia, flat affect, looks bored, W sits, or avoids sports. I wish I can demonstrate W sitting for you, but you've definitely seen W sitting. They're not very expressive to responses. Their resting muscle tone is optimal at on and functioning more at a lower end. So you'll see this person with floppy muscles. They don't really move much. Running tends to be more difficult for this person. Again, you might find this person sitting somewhere avoiding people, avoiding rough play, avoiding sports when it comes to the functioning of their muscle skill, their motor skill, and their muscle tone. So you might be looking at the tactile system and the motor skill system, and you're wondering why the under-responsive person for tactile enjoys messy play, but they would probably tend to avoid sports. So on any range of the spectrum that anyone falls, you can function at a under responsive level for any particular category and an over responsive level for any other particular category. So just because you're functioning more at an under responsive system for a particular category doesn't mean that every single sense is going to fall within that category. Okay. So this person, you might see the feet being more flat. You might actually see the person at an over responsive level have more of a rigid posture. They might actually walk on their tippy toes because of this rigid posture doesn't allow them to walk flatly on the bottoms of their feet. Okay. Our vestibular system. This is a system which tells the brain how the body is oriented to the earth. So our sense of balance. So somebody who is experiencing spatial unawareness, you might have heard of an over responsive level. They resist posture changes, laying down for diaper changes. So in a baby, if you sit a baby up and then go to lay them down, you might actually see that they're fussy or they're crying. And the reason why is just because when the position changed, it probably made them dizzy. They have difficulty balancing. Their vestibular system was a little bit thrown off from that sudden motion or that sudden position change. Okay, somebody functioning at a under responsive level and their vestibular system enjoys spinning, swinging, tumbling. They may not have the ability to get dizzy. Our vestibular system tells our body whether or not we're dizzy. So as we get a little bit older, our vestibular system, you might find, is falling more in an under-responsive category. I know mine does. I get dizzy a lot easier, which is why I can't handle roller coasters much anymore. But these people that are on this spectrum or that fall within this particular category will tend to also in an under-responsive category, will actually not feel those different effects. Okay. And proprioception. Proprioception is our sense of muscle and joint pressure. So how it feels to our body when something is touching our body or being pressed against our body. So we can use hugging as an example. Somebody who's functioning at an over-responsive level, which is on this side, actually avoids hugs and rough play. The pressure appears to be more intense for this person. Whereas a person functioning at an under-responsive level, you might see them walk into things, crash into things, slam their bodies around. I have a student in my class who is severely under-functioning in this particular category, and she wears a helmet because she actually slams her head against the wall constantly. So she does not have where we would say, I don't like to say normal, but I would say more functioning towards the middle, where there's a complete balance of being under and over, but definitely in the middle. They're physically affectionate, so they enjoy touching. You might find them hitting, punching, pulling hair. They enjoy being pressed. and they tend to carry backpacks, and very, very, very heavy backpacks for that matter. Um, the reason why this person actually is satisfied with the pressure is because they lack the pressure. So any one of these under responsive systems, um, the reasons why they function the way that they do is because they're actually lacking that particular sense. The person functioning at an over responsive level is receiving that particular sense at an increased amount. So they would need it less. So let's talk about the different oils that you can actually use when it comes to both under responsive and over responsive. So the single cells that we're going to use to arouse the under responsive person are frankincense, marjoram, peppermint, rosemary, and wild orange. And for the over responsive person, they typically need to be calmed down a little bit using lavender, vetiver, Roman chamomile. Different blends include the calming blend, the digestive blend, the focus blend, the grounding blend, and the blend for women. And there is a one pager on the conversions of all of these oil blends, so that if you want to look these up, they are found in your book. Okay. For an under responsive person, sorry to jump back and forth, oils to arouse would be the cellular complex blend, the invigorating blend, and the joyful blend. And I might even be able to convert some of these things for you guys in just a moment. Okay, so let's take a look at the three ways that the oil can be used before I go ahead and break down some of the ways that you're going to use the different oils. Okay, so we're going to be able to use the oils aromatically, topically, and internally. So the same exact way we would use them if we did not have any sort of developmental disorders is the same exact way that we would use them if we did. So aromatically, you want to use to positively affect or improve the mood. It aids in more restful sleep at night. And it's the best way to use this is by diffusing. Topically, you can use topically to increase or decrease modulation. So if they're under responsive or over responsive, you can use this topical method to both aid in increasing or decreasing those particular senses. So you must use a carrier oil in a roller bottle, especially if you're not somebody who has used oils before. Diluting is going to be the most important when it comes to this method of using oils, because the way someone's body responds to an extensive amount of oils or extensive amount of oil ratio to carrier oil ratio might be different based on the person. Okay, internally, you want to use them internally for a deeper effect on certain oils. So it isn't recommended that you use all of these different oils internally, but a good majority of them you can use internally. So use internally if there is a high sensitivity to scents of oil. So aromatically, for somebody who is very sensitive to using the oils aromatically, you might want to turn to using them internally. Okay. So let's talk about the different oils that can be used and how they can be used. Some of them were mentioned on the previous page, and I did add a couple of extra oils on here just for your knowledge. I am sending you all this sheet. That way, if you want to take notes, you can absolutely do that. So let's talk about the overall digestive system. So people who have ADD, ADHD, autism spectrum disorder tend to have interesting diets. Somebody who is functioning at let's see if I can float both of these for you all. Let's see if that makes any sense. No, that's not going to work. Okay, so let's just look at the sense of taste and scent. If you notice, somebody who is functioning on an over-responsive level actually has food aversions in a bland diet because their sense They're functioning at an overmodulated rate. So they tend to have digestive issues. They're easily nauseated by different scents, different tastes. So they tend to eat either bland items or they don't eat much at all. I have a student, once again, who eats um, like popcorn and rice, and that's the only thing that he eats because he gets nauseated when he eats anything that has too much of a scent or too much of a taste. So for somebody like that, um, you're going to want to make sure you have different ways of getting them nutrients because they are losing nutrients. It affects the teeth, it affects the digestive tract, then in turn is affecting other body systems. Okay, so um, Terrazyme. Terrazyme is great because it has raw food digestive enzymes within it to help break down anything that's going on in the gut, any food that we've eaten that we just can't seem to digest, and it actually makes our body able to absorb the nutrients a lot better. Our PB Assist and PB Assist Junior is a probiotic that delivers straight into the intestine those good enzymes. So if somebody is not eating the foods that they should be eating, and their gut is filled with bad bacteria. This leads to all types of other diseases and sicknesses. So having that PB Assist or the PB Assist Junior, if it is a child, it's going to actually feed the body good bacteria so that it is able to function at a near regular rate. Okay. Um, Somebody who has these food aversions as well and is easily nauseated, you probably are not going to want to use the aromatic method, or they might even have sensitivities to the topical method of using oils. For that person, you can use oils at the bottom of their foot. That way, it's as far away from their face as possible. But somebody who is functioning at an under responsive level, you can actually sneak in different oils into like your food. Actually, for both of these people, you can sneak the oils into their food depending on what their sensitivity is. Okay. Um, so if you want to stimulate appetite, that's the over responsive person. Um, they tend to be an under eater, so they're picky. So this person, you want to suppress their appetite, and they are overeater. So the way that you suppress an appetite is by using citrus oil, and the way that you stimulate an appetite has been seen to work with lavender. Okay, let's see what other oils are on here. Okay, so another one that is not mentioned here is Slim and Sassy. Slim and Sassy is one of our blends that is actually used to balance metabolism. So this can be used in somebody with an over-responsive or under-responsive body system. Okay, On Guard is listed right here. On Guard is a great protective blend. If somebody has a sense of smell sensitivity, you might want to go ahead and put this in a veggie capsule because it does have a very strong taste and scent. But this On Guard can be used internally, aromatically. On Guard has a whole list of products that are great for limiting exposure to toxins, building up one's body's immune system. You might find that someone that is functioning on the spectrum or has one of these disorders actually has a weakened immune system. There have been studies shown that they are actually prone to absorbing more toxins in their body. So to eliminate any heavy metals from the body as they build up, you want to be able to detoxify your home, clean with less chemical products, brush your teeth with less chemicals, and everything. On that level. So On Guard comes in all different types of products, a cleaner, laundry detergent, toothpaste, an oil, beadlets, and even a soft gel form. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at Trying to figure out which one I want to target next. Okay, so one that is also not listed here um, is our Correctex, lavender, frankincense, and melaleuca for somebody who experiences more sensitive skin. Um, so we are going to look at our tactile system. So someone in this tactile system functioning at an under responsive rate tends to have scratches or they pinch themselves in the same spot, something that feels raised on their skin. They're going to keep picking at it. So they usually have skin irritations, scabs or wounds. They tend to burn more easily. So they really have a lot of injury issues. Correctex um, is a great topical solution. It almost reminds me of Neosporin without the bad chemicals in it that prevent our bodies from actually healing naturally. And it does not actually have petroleum jelly in it. So it allows the skin to actually breathe and heal properly really quickly. Lavender is a antiseptic. And it can be used for any cuts, burns, or bruises. Lavender and melaleuca together speed healing. And if you add frankincense to the mix, it actually is great for any sort of skin issues. Okay. Um, DDR prime is actually our cellular complex blend. And our cellular complex blend is great for just overall cell health, boosting those cells' functional abilities. And anybody that is functioning on an under or over responsive level can definitely benefit from that. I personally take my cellular complex blend every day. It has improved eyesight. It has improved the way my skin looks. So this can be used for somebody who is experiencing any one of these sensitivity functions to different senses. Excuse me. Ooh, tongue twisters over here. And this can be used on a daily and regular regimen. Okay, so another one of those blends that I helped decode just now is that focus blend, and it's actually going to be called In Tune. It is a blend of different oils used to actually soothe the neurological system and improve focus. So you can use this in a roller ball on the bottom of the feet or the base of the skull. Um, and I'm jumping back for one moment. DDR Prime comes in, I meant to mention that it comes in an oil and it actually comes in a soft gel. The DDR Prime oil is actually not the best tasting. So I prefer to take it in a soft gel form. If you use this in a roller ball, you can use it on the spine and the base of the skull as well. And it helps to aid in those neurological functions as well. So you can do DDR Prime, In Tune as well. And that combination can be great for focus, neurological improvements, or anything of that nature. So wild orange, I coupled them together. Wild orange and rosemary improve focus and memory. So again, using those topically on the base of the skull, bottoms of the feet is going to improve focus. You can put them in a diffuser as well. If the person does not have sensitivities to different smells, wild orange, rosemary, and peppermint is a energy booster. It helps focus, and it's great for memory. Okay. Our grounding blend, which I do not have on there, yes, I do. Balance is our grounding blend. It is just naturally calming and grounding. I use balance when I do yoga. I use balance and frankincense together to promote like ease and calm and just open mindedness. Um, Deep blue. I guess I don't have deep blue on here, but deep blue is it's not on there either, is a soothing blend. So you can go ahead and add that to your paper. It's a soothing blend. It's our massage blend. You massage this into muscles. So any one of these folks who like the rough play, Um, or if they have, it's probably going to fall somewhere within this motor skill and muscle tone. You can actually use it to massage that tippy toe walker. They tend to have rigid posture. They might even feel sore at different times. Um, Somebody who has a over responsive system can probably use um, this deep blue because it is very soothing and it soothes the muscles, and it's great for a massage. Okay, and our kids kit is great because it has turned all of these different blends into something that into different names that kids actually love and enjoy, and it helps them be self-sufficient when it comes to applying their own oils. So it's great for developing minds, body, and emotions. It's gentle and delicate because it is already pre-diluted. It comes in a pre-diluted rollerball for you already. um, I think one of the blends I'm going to name, I believe I have most of the blends here. They're called Thinker, which is our focus blend. So it's going to be very, very similar to our In Tune. It has vetiver, peppermint, clementine, rosemary, and it prevents mental distraction. So this is something that's really good to send to school with kids because they'll remember, hey, I need to get my Thinker blend or my focus blend to help me focus better. And it actually does work. Letting them administer their own oils gives them a sense of ownership, and they can actually see and feel the difference. We have another blend called our steady blend, and that's going to be our grounding blend or balance. Um, and this is great for calming. Okay, our rescuer blend, which is a soothing blend, very similar to that deep blue, is going to be great for massages. Our calmer blend, which is our restful blend, is probably going to be very similar to, and it's not listed here, Serenity, a nice restful blend. It's going to create a nice serene atmosphere. So if you have somebody who is functioning on a level of responsiveness where they tend to be hyperactive and you can't get them to sit down, you might want to use the calmer blend for them. Um, and then we have an invigorating blend. Let's see, one, two, three, four, an invigorating blend. Um, and I believe, I'm not quite sure what the invigorating blend converts over to. So you got to help me out and look that one up. But I added in there Cleary Calm, which is our women's blend. So it says the blend for women. Of course, it does not have to be a woman that's using this. It's called our blend for women because it has clary sage in it, which is a great um, hormone balancing blend. Okay. So all of these different blends you can find in your oil reference guides. All these single oils you can find in our oil reference guides. And if you want to see how using a combination of some of these oils together works for your particular person that you're using this for, that is exactly what you should be doing. Okay. So you always want to use less drops of oils first before using more because we want to see how the body is responding to the use of the oils, and you may need to tweak it. Maybe vetiver works for you. And by the way, vetiver is a heavy hitter, and this is like one of the most well-known oils that moms have mentioned, moms and dads have mentioned to use for ADD, ADHD, or any attention deficit disorder. Some of these other oils might have a reverse reaction for that particular person. So lavender may actually give somebody energy, whereas naturally it's calming for me. But it depends on how our body is functioning at an over or responsive rate. Okay, so a lot of this is definitely trial and error. It requires a lot of patience. It is not an overnight fix, but it is a gradual fix. And we have seen, and I have personally heard stories that actually where these oils have actually worked for people with ADD, ADHD, or any sort of attention disorder. Okay. Um, if you have any questions, you can definitely jump in our Facebook group chat. There are tons of moms who have put testimonies in there. I use some of these oils, and I don't consider myself on a spectrum, but again, that's our society putting labels on ourselves. We all function at either over or under responsive level to one or two of these senses. So don't need to put yourself in a category or put yourself or put a label on yourself. Start using the oils and see how we can combat some of these different sense issues, and bring our bodies at a complete harmony, which is somewhere right in the middle. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to definitely jump in the group chat. And I'm so glad you guys decided to work with me today or listen to this meeting, and I hope you enjoyed it.